Imagine waking up to billions. Lee Kang-jin was a mere commoner. Until one fateful day, a mysterious lawyer arrives with shocking news. Kang-jin has inherited a massive 8.2 billion won estate. This staggering fortune came from Lady Kim Bok-ja, his former orphanage director's sister. But there is a catch. No pain, no gain. To claim it, he must manage the tavern for 5 long years. Accept, and every single living expense is covered. It is the ultimate golden ticket. From a lowly worker to a pampered owner, everything is taken care of from A to Z. Holding 8 billion won in his hands makes Kang-jin break out in a cold sweat. He grows suspicious. Is this a honey trap? Do they want his soul or his body? There are strict rules he must follow. But for a penniless guy like him, there is no turning back. He decides to gamble on his life and signs. After all, he has nothing left to lose anyway. Before leaving, the lawyer's gaze turns ice cold. One violation, and he will be kicked to the curb. You will end up back in the gutters. Kang-jin looks at the ingredients and feels instant regret. Why did he agree? He does not even know how to boil water. But then, fate intervenes. He finds a dusty, mysterious cookbook filled with strange, intricate notes. As he reads, his vision begins to blur. The glowing letters start dancing before his eyes. The mystical script wraps around his entire body. Suddenly, his hands move with legendary precision. His arms move as if possessed by a chef god. With this secret manual, survival seems possible. Just then, the doors creak open. A girl in traditional attire steps into the tavern. She is his very first customer. Without a word, she sits and demands their strongest liquor. She looks like a mere child. As a responsible owner, Kang-jin cannot just serve her. He puts on his professional face and asks the little lady for her identification. She scoffs with an arrogant, noble aura. But the contract states, the customer is king. He has no choice but to serve her. She will be the guinea pig for his first legendary dish. After 27 years of mediocrity, he finally presents his masterpiece. But wait, he finds her chugging expensive liquor like a thirsty demon. This is getting out of hand. He tries to kick her out, but her response leaves him speechless. Lord Kim-jan? Who uses such ancient, noble titles in this modern era? Suddenly, a towering man appears. He claims to be from the GS Financial Group. He calls the young girl Big Sister. He politely hands Kang-jin his business card. But in a heartbeat, his friendly aura vanishes. Do not believe everything your eyes see, he warns. He reassures the confused owner. This place will soon be swarming with guests. The divine scent of the food has already spread, but not through the world of the living. He reserves a table for a grand banquet tomorrow. Kang-jin is thrilled by his first big booking. He bows in thanks, but when he looks up, they have vanished into thin air. Just as he laments the empty tavern, 3 mischievous troublemakers suddenly appear. Learning he is the new manager, they smirk. Things are about to get very interesting here. Normal people do not come here, they whisper. Kang-jin freezes. Are they ghosts? They do not answer his question. Instead, they offer him a chilling, supernatural smile. Despite the creeps, Kang-jin sees dollar signs. His eyes light up at the thought of a big bill. But disaster strikes twice. We have no money, they declare flatly. Kang-jin's smile shatters. Hey, you can't just eat and run. Pay up. The blue-haired girl begins to glow with a divine light. She leans in close to the frantic owner. Remember, do not trust your eyes, she whispers. Before he can scream, they vanish into the shadows. They completely played him. Not a single cent earned after a whole day of work. But Kang-jin will not give up. He returns to the kitchen to master his otherworldly craft. As Kang-jin opened the manual, his eyes burned crimson. Hidden recipes flashed like ancient spells before his very eyes. Static ink came alive, swirling around him in a chaotic dance. The secrets of the underworld were awakening. His body moved on instinct. A total kitchen amateur was now wielding blades with godlike, divine precision. He surpassed every master chef instantly. Stunned, Kang-jin realized Grandma Kim's cookbook held a terrifying, supernatural power. To test this miracle, he attempted legendary dishes. Every complex move felt effortless, like a master's flow. The results were culinary masterpieces. One bite of Grandma's recipe sent a jolting shock through his entire soul. It tasted exactly like his mother's cooking from his youth. But nostalgia had to wait. Destiny was calling. Shaking off the tears, he braced himself. Nothing about this inherited life followed the laws of reality anymore. Was this a blessing or a cursed debt? Suddenly, two mysterious brothers arrived, bearing a strange delivery. They brought spirit liquor and news. One was the lawyer's brother, though they shared nothing but glowing, eerie eyes. Despite their differences, they were Grandma Kim's loyal kin. Their bond transcended mere friendship. They were soul-bound family. Seeing their familiarity, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 questioned the finances. Was he running a charity or a business for the dead? The visitor scoffed, warning him that the dead always pay their debts. Greed is useless in the afterlife's domain. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 stood speechless. What use is wealth to a ghost? He then probed into the shadowy GSV finance group. Information was non-existent. A ghost company indeed, whispered about as a secretive, generational lineage of immense power. Hidden for centuries, they were untouchable. Even if the world ended, GSV's influence would remain eternally unshakable. Their wealth was beyond mortal comprehension. Mentioning them triggered a sudden, painful longing for their lost mother. Overwhelmed by grief, they sped off like phantoms. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 watched, completely bewildered by their sudden, dramatic exit. Visiting graves, perhaps? He mused. Despite his free housing, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 craved his own fortune for future security. He needed a safety net. His restaurant had a prime location, yet it felt like a silent graveyard. Not a single soul entered. Desperate, he began cooking, hoping the divine aroma would lure in any passerby. Hours of labor passed under the moonlight. Finally, the bell chimed as a lone, small child stepped inside. It was past midnight. Why was a toddler wandering alone without parents in this eerie, desolate place? The boy seemed polite, so 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 cooked a warm meal. The child ate ravenously, as if starved for eternity. Moved by pity, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 served an extra portion of pork. The atmosphere was peaceful until a memory surfaced. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 spoke of his own mother's cooking. Suddenly, the boy stopped, tears of longing welling in his eyes. Heartbroken sobs filled the room. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 felt a painful resonance. Their shared grief bridged the living and dead. Tears blurred his vision. Driven by love, the boy stood to find his mother. Suddenly, the floor glowed. A mystical pool of light manifested beneath him. With a final, whispered thank you, the boy's reflection shimmered. Through fading tears, a radiant smile appeared. His entire form erupted in a blinding, celestial light of peace. In a blink, the child vanished into thin air. From the void, a single banknote fluttered down softly. A 10-to-million-1 bill. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 trembled as he clutched the fortune he had only ever dreamed of possessing. Amidst his shock, a shadow stirred in the corner. A man watched, his dark smile hiding ancient secrets. A spirit's gratitude is heavy, he murmured. The lawyer had returned silently, appearing like a ghost himself. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 nearly jumped out of his skin. The lawyer dropped his facade, ready to reveal the grim truth. This tavern was the gateway, a thin veil between the living world and the eternal yellow springs below. His customers weren't human, they were spirits. Terror gripped 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃, his legs buckling under the weight of this revelation. Don't fear, they won't bite, the lawyer teased. But the thought of serving demons made 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's blood freeze. Feeding the dead was a nightmare come true. Yet, as he looked into the lawyer's piercing, sharp gaze, are ghosts truly worse than men? He recalled the brutal exploitation and betrayal he suffered from living humans. Humans were the real monsters. A cold resolve settled in his heart. Perhaps spirits were easier to handle. I'll do it, he vowed, fueled by the power of money. His fear vanished, replaced by burning ambition. It felt surreal drones in the sky and demons at the table. He immediately searched for ways to survive. Online guides suggested red bean porridge for protection. Others advised hiring an exorcist to purge the restless dead. But the simplest path? Satiate their hunger. Once their souls are full, they depart in peace. And so, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 prepared bowls of red bean porridge for the Grand JS Finance Underworld gathering. Unsure if these guests were even human, the messy-haired 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 suddenly poked his head inside. Speak of the devil and he shall appear. The JS crew arrived with supernatural senses. The scent of porridge startled the group. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 watched 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 approach the counter. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 devoured the exorcism porridge instantly. They looked like ordinary humans, yet felt different. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 stayed calm, treating them like living guests. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 suddenly offered a strange apology. Their presence scared off other spirits. Most ghosts owed debts to the JS finance firm. Debt-ridden souls fled the scene, terrified of the underworld collectors and their heavy interest. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 showed the check he received from a departed child's grateful spirit. 𝐃𝐄𝐀 recognized the currency. It was merit money, paid for guiding souls toward ascension. The afterlife mirrored the living world, using spirit currency for all ghostly transactions. Good deeds in life earned a fortune. In death, righteous souls lived like absolute kings. But the wicked were left with nothing. They became paupers, suffering in eternal debt and misery. In the abyss, enough money could even erase sins. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 realized gold ruled both worlds. Every human held a JS savings account. Their morality was converted into literal cash. Underworld wealth could even be manifested into the living realm under the right conditions. After the guests left, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 discovered he had struck a supernatural jackpot. The blue-haired girl was right, but 50,000 won wasn't enough for their massive feast. That night, the tavern was packed. The mysterious Hanbok woman returned, demanding only strong liquor. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 apologized for his previous rudeness. He had treated this ancient soul like a child. Her archaic speech hinted at centuries of life. Curiosity piqued as he asked about her death. He froze instantly. Her hollow eyes burned with a dark, terrifying, and ancient resentment. Wandering spirits are fueled by tragedy. One must never ask a ghost about their past. This tavern was a sanctuary for the unhonored. Their histories were often written in blood. Serving them was a way to accumulate divine merit. Yet, the shop remained strangely quiet. A new guest hesitated at the door, seemingly terrified of the lady ghost's overwhelming aura. Suddenly, a swarm of famished spirits rushed in. They were starving ghosts with endless demands. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 struggled to keep up. The overwhelming orders threatened to crash the kitchen. A blonde-haired man stepped forward. He seized a knife and entered the kitchen uninvited. His blade work was legendary. With master chef precision, he began a culinary performance. Together, they cleared the orders. But the next wave of spectral guests was already arriving. 3 men entered. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 smiled, recognizing a familiar face from his orphanage days. It was his old friend, now a spirit. But death had erased all his mortal memories. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 was heartbroken. His closest brother looked at him like a complete stranger. Memories of their childhood brought 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 to tears. But the ghost felt nothing at all. He wanted to scream and remind him of the past. But his chef stopped him. Interfering with the dead was forbidden. The living cannot mend the hearts of the deceased. Wandering ghosts are trapped in their grudges. Mortal words only cause them further pain. A man spoke of fate and reincarnation. The tavern transformed into a stage for life stories. Every ghost shared the injustice of their passing, pouring their hearts out over drinks. His brother revealed he died fighting thugs. He had lived and died as a protector. Perhaps he was a hero in life. They sat together, drinking as brothers once again. The blonde chef remained humble. Despite his god-tier skills, he claimed he was still learning. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 saw his potential. He decided to recruit this legendary talent for his growing empire. The young chef agreed. The Netherworld Tavern was finally gaining its first legendary general. The spirits raise a final toast. Even the amnesiac brother seeks to help. 1A. M strikes. Fate intervenes as the ghosts vanish into the void. Alone in the shadows, 2 drunken mortals stumble into the ghost tavern. The living arrive. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 serves them his legendary demonic stir-fried pork. 1 bite ignites an explosion of flavor. Mortal or ghost, all are enthralled. Hooked by the taste, the guest vows to return for seaweed soup. At dawn, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 obsessively masters the manual's ancient culinary secrets. Perfection achieved. The mystical soup is ready for the living world's judgment. The guest returns with his cynical wife. She scoffs at the tavern's decay. Why seek luxury? This is a sanctuary for souls, not a palace. 1 sip changes everything. Her icy heart thaws with the taste of home. Netherworld law. The price is left to the guest's own soul. A mere 1,000 won? The wife stops him. This meal is priceless. 150,000 won. A generous offering for a divine dish. The delivery crew returns, sensing the tavern's unnatural, bone-chilling cold. No air conditioning, yet freezing. Such is the weight of heavy yin energy. Warning! Absorbing too much ghost energy reveals the horrors lurking outside. Wandering spirits aren't guests. They are vengeful, hungry, and waiting in shadows. Panic strikes 𝐃𝐿. Are these delivery men even among the living? They still breathe, luckily. But why serve a tavern of the damned? Bound by fate, Mother Kim raised them as her own shadow sons, a brotherhood of outcasts. The lawyer, the merchant, and the brawny delivery man. The fourth sibling, a master of design, will transform this cursed tavern. 𝐃𝐿 seeks a mortal price list. Business in the netherworld evolves. A charity for ghosts? The lawyer deems the concept of profit meaningless. 𝐃𝐿 persists. For mortals, a price offers a sense of reality. The lawyer calls the beyond. He summons the spirit of Mother Kim. A chilling revelation. This man speaks directly to the realm of death. Tension peaks. Mother Kim grants her successor absolute, total control. Dreams of wealth ignite. He will conquer fate without being a slave. A sudden call. The mortal world offers an internship, a golden path. Success and gold await. He can finally thrive in the human realm. But the 5-year contract is a shackle upon his very soul. A golden opportunity. Waiting 5 years means losing his future forever. Midnight hours only? He can be a mortal intern and a ghost king. Blondie senses the anxiety. The ghosts fear their only sanctuary is closing. Panic erupts. If the tavern closes, where will the dead find peace? The hearth remains lit. The tavern stays open for the spirit's hunger. A family of 3 appears. They are translucent, flickering like dying flames. Newly deceased, only 3 days since they left the world of light. No prayers, no funeral. They are the forgotten souls of the city. 𝐃𝐿 serves them with heart. Mercy blooms in the dark netherworld. Beside him stood spectral figures. Their translucent bodies marked them as mere fledglings, having crossed over only 3 days ago. Denied their funeral feasts and abandoned by the living, these starving souls wandered here, forgotten by the world of light. Moved by their tragic fate, 𝐃𝐿 vowed to serve them with the same devotion he offered to legendary underworld kings. As the family departs for the afterlife, Jin wonders why the blonde ghost is still loitering. Is he obsessed with me? No unresolved grudges have anchored his soul to this mortal realm. This tavern attracts spirits with heavy hearts, souls wandering with no place to call home. 𝐃𝐿 doesn't realize his divine cooking is the key to cleansing their lingering hatred. The ghost wife pays with a corporate card, stunned to see a living human serving them. A mortal selling food to demons? Shocked, they beg Jin for one final, desperate favor. With no kin left, they wish to donate their entire fortune to orphans in need. To handle the legalities, Jin calls the only professional he knows, a legendary lawyer. The lawyer arrives with a terrifying aura, sending the ghosts fleeing in absolute primal fear. Only after realizing he isn't a reaper do they settle down to finish their meals. But justice has a price. The lawyer demands 20 million won for this complex case. The ghosts panic at the cost, but fate has a surprise waiting in their accounts. Years of small monthly donations had quietly grown into a staggering 60 million won fortune. Jin witnesses the power of karma. A life of virtue earns them a glorious end. Next morning, a routine trash run turns into a nightmare as Jin encounters true horror. 3 mangled, grotesque demons approach him. The sight sends Jin collapsing in pure terror. He faints on the spot. When his vision clears, 3 shadowy figures loom over him. But wait, they aren't monsters. These are just the regular customers from the ghost tavern. Jin describes the horrific skeletons he saw outside creatures straight out of a dark legend. The spirits exchange looks. They finally admit the gruesome truth of their post-death forms. Inside the tavern, they appear human. Outside, they reflect the brutal reality of their passing. After the shock wears off, Jin asks why they've arrived hours before the tavern opens. They never actually leave. They just linger nearby, waiting for the gates to open again. Among them is a legendary doctor, a 21st-century genius eager to repay Jin's hospitality. With a few expert strikes to his pressure points, Jin feels a wave of heavenly bliss. Feeling revitalized, the doctor insists on a trip to the market for rare medicinal herbs. He couldn't say no to the old man's pleading face. Soon, they arrive at the market. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream pierces the air, drawing everyone toward a scene of chaos. A mother wails over her dying son. Jin sees the man convulsing on the ground. In the panic, Jin speaks to the ghost mother, accidentally revealing his supernatural sight. Her sorrow instantly turns to terrifying rage. She lunges at him with blood-red eyes. She grabs his arm, and Jin fears the end. But then, She starts to beg. "Please, save my son," she cries. Jin rushes in before the ambulance can arrive. The ghost doctor realizes it's a fatal blockage. Without help, the man will be paralyzed. Both spirits look to Jin. He is the only bridge between the living and the dead. The pressure is immense. Jin must perform emergency acupuncture without knowing a single thing. One mistake means a death sentence. Jin trembles, but the doctor's ghost begins the lesson. Driven by desperation, Jin prepares to strike. The lives of mother and son are at stake. The ghost doctor yearns to help, but his spectral form cannot touch the living world. Only through the tavern's mystical resonance can his medical genius be channeled through Jin. The needles strike with divine precision. The man's eyes snap open as life returns. In his haze, he sees his mother's smiling face before the paramedics rush him away. Satisfied, her soul begins to glow, dissolving into stardust as she ascends to the heavens. A miracle witnessed by two worlds. Jin's legend in the netherworld is only just beginning. That night, the spirits gather early, ravenous for the tavern's gates to open at 11. Crowds gather, but all tremble at the sound of those terrifying footsteps. A blood-soaked specter arrives, and every ghost flees in pure terror. There she stands, a girl drenched in blood, wielding a legendary blade. Clad in hanbok, she is the terrifying specter known as Miss Seal. But inside the tavern, she transforms back into a stunning beauty, a supernatural glow-up. The Queen of Ghosts drinks in lonely silence. Time passes, and Kang Jin begins his quest as a corporate intern. Dressed for battle, yet he sits isolated like a strange outcast. Suddenly, a veteran employee with a messy past approaches him. He mocks Kang Jin's psychology degree as a spoiled rich kid's choice. His fake smile hides a gaze of pure, icy contempt. Then comes Choi Rong-hai, the elite genius of the department. Working with humans is already draining Kang Jin's soul. Shock. A former customer is actually the company's powerful CEO. A psychology major running a tavern? The guide is utterly baffled. Destiny chose the path, but money is the ultimate goal. Seeing Kang Jin's CEO connection, his rival burns with intense jealousy. Using ghost-like speed, he finishes the inventory in a flash. The manager is stunned and grants him a legendary early release. Before the words finish, Kang Jin has vanished like smoke. It wasn't luck he used the ghost CEO's secret office manual. Meanwhile, his rival Dong Hae is failing every single human task. Behind a calm face, Dong Hae's dark hatred begins to boil over. They head to a legendary restaurant where even presidents dine. Kang Jin sees the owner's ghost mourning at the register. Terrible service and bland food? The legend has truly faded. Only Kang Jin finishes his plate, honoring the chef's spirit. The ghost owner's sorrow catches our protagonist's keen eyes. The heir lost the secret recipe, the flavor is gone forever. Suddenly, the ghost CEO demands a bowl of forbidden spicy stew. Panic ensues. But the golden chef ghost saves the day. He must learn to cook from this legendary ghost chef. Garlic training? The ghost chef nearly faints from pure fear. Bound by debt to GS, he's trapped in this supernatural kitchen. Death is not the end, but a brutal, otherworldly beginning. One failure during the audit means your soul is erased. To reincarnate, they must resolve grudges they can't even remember. The chef vanishes, leaving Kang Jin alone with the orders. He prays for a miracle, and the golden chef returns. He brought the restaurant ghost, a reunion of lost souls. Kang Jin collapses in tears from the sheer, crushing labor. Watching them work, the old woman mourns her son's failure. Her final wish? A taste of legendary blood hangover soup. It takes time to simmer, so she hands him a card. A VIP card for GS Group? Kang Jin's hands tremble. She was a lady of immense wealth. Jin hesitated, fearing his cooking would offend her refined palate. This mother had come to witness the disaster firsthand. Tension hung heavy in the silent tavern. The shop was a desolate wasteland. Her son was nowhere to be found among the staff. The flavor was even worse than before. One bite in, and her face contorted in visible agony. Seeing her despair, Kang Jin offered a drink. But this lady was a master of spirits. Her movements were sharp and professional. She mixed the brew with the grace of a veteran. The golden liquid shimmered beautifully. Jin gulped it down while the onlookers watched in pure envy. Her hidden talent finally resurfaced. They sat down to unveil a past buried in struggle. She had built an empire from nothing, surviving sabotage and tears to reach the pinnacle of success. Now, she watched her life's work crumble. all because of her incompetent, worthless son's failures. She asked 𝐃𝐿𝐃 for a dark favor, not to save her legacy, but to destroy it. With tears in her eyes, her gaze remained cold. She wanted to burn her own restaurant down. 𝐃𝐿𝐃 was speechless. To a true professional, serving trash food was a fate worse than death. Her pride meant nothing if it disappointed her guests. She would rather see it all turn to ash. Destruction is an art form. She knew exactly how to use a superior rival to crush her son. The legendary hangover soup was added to the menu, a weapon designed to bring a kingdom down. News of the divine dish spread to the regulars. Everyone was desperate to taste 𝐃𝐿𝐃's masterpiece. Manager Lai scrambled to secure a portion. Suddenly, Nam Nam appeared with a shocking proposal. A full-time position? After only 1 week? The sudden promotion caught 𝐃𝐿𝐃 completely off guard. He assumed he was the chosen one, given how many extra chores the man had lately. But look at the manager's cold expression. That wasn't the face of a satisfied boss. Interns marked for termination are often worked the hardest. It was nothing more than free, cruel labor. Jin's efficiency was legendary. Even the old ghost followed him, admiring his incredible growth and talent. The ghost feigned sadness with crocodile tears, fearing that if Jin left, the delicious meals would vanish. These spirits only cared about their stomachs. Yet, they were the only family Jin had here. He couldn't just abandon them. He remembered the lawyer's solemn warning about this sacred place. This tavern was the Netherworld's only sanctuary, the last hope for wandering souls to find peace. There was no other choice. Jin rejected the corporate world to protect his ghostly realm. Rejected, Nam Nam turned her wrath on Dong He, treating him like a mindless puppet for errands. Jin watched the poor soul with pity. "I'll let you take this blessing instead, my friend." The lid opened, releasing a heavenly aroma. The hangover soup looked like a work of divine art. One sip sent him into a state of pure euphoria, a flavor profile that transcended the mortal world. It held the essence of fine wine yet healed the soul. Truly a masterpiece fit for the gods. The regulars were stunned by the taste. But new faces were still rare on this opening day. This wasn't about the money. It was a calculated strike to dethrone her arrogant son. They needed outsiders to witness this miracle. Only then would the rumors shake the entire underworld. The managers were exhausted by the office grind. Meeting co-workers on the weekend was a living nightmare. Jin was lucky to have such understanding superiors. 2 young men wandered by, searching for a feast. They followed the old fame of the Sun's restaurant, expecting the legendary quality of years past. The place was an empty shell. One taste of the foul food, and they bolted for Jin's tavern. The battle lines were officially drawn. The Sun realized a powerful predator had entered his territory. He tried to silence the rumors, but it was too late. The top executives were already clamoring for a taste. Only 8 servings remained for the entire week. The director instantly claimed 5 for himself. The managers fought over the final 3. Nam Nam was left out, mocked by the superior's greed. He offered her a single bowl for 10,000 won, a steep price for a taste of pure heaven. The elite were desperate, bidding wildly just for a seat at 𝐃𝐿𝐃's table. But Dong He's jealousy festered as he watched the spotlight drift away. 𝐃𝐿𝐃's kindness was met with a venomous, cold-hearted rejection. The snake accused him of using the tavern for cheap corporate clout. 𝐃𝐿𝐃's face darkened as those malicious words cut through the air. Was he truly a fraud, hiding behind a ghost's forbidden manual? Without that bald old man's legacy, he was just another ordinary soul. Yet the hungry spirits of the Netherworld continued to swarm his shop. They hailed his cooking as a masterpiece, surpassing all earthly legends. Phase 1 was complete. The ungrateful son's downfall had finally begun. While 𝐃𝐿𝐃 thrived, the rival shop became a graveyard of silence. Hope turned to ash as customers realized they were in the wrong place. Panic set in as the son realized his crown was being stolen. He rushed to witness the legendary chef with his own eyes. Balancing a corporate life and a ghostly kitchen was pure madness. 𝐃𝐿𝐃 collapsed, his soul drained by the relentless double life. The golden-haired ghost watched his master crumble under the weekend pressure. He needed help, a new servant to handle the supernatural rush. But no mortal could endure the heavy, chilling aura of the dead. A normal person would literally die of fright in this haunted kitchen. His only choice was to hire the spirits of the damned. An old spirit finished his bowl, demanding a final, strong drink. Mrs. O intervened, serving the special vintage he loved in life. She remembered every taste, even from across the veil of death. Suddenly, the ungrateful son arrived, demanding his mother's signature dish. Kang Jin hesitated, but Mrs. O whispered, "The target has arrived." The trap was set, as Kang Jin served the two special bowls. A mother's secret. She ordered him to add a dash of sugar. The soup became strangely sweet, a flavor only the son would recognize. With one spoonful, the son's arrogant facade began to shatter. The taste was hauntingly familiar, forcing him to eat like a beast. He slammed the bowl down, his voice trembling with a dark realization. Kang Jin poured the wine, his movements echoing a forgotten memory. The son's eyes widened. This was his mother's exact, graceful technique. "Your mother herself taught me the soul of this recipe," Kang Jin declared. The wife lashed out, her voice dripping with desperation and hate. Kang Jin stood his ground, radiating the authority of a true master. She screamed of theft, yet her own husband was trembling in fear. "Your soup is a lie." Kang Jin's words struck like a blade. The son confessed the true recipe was far beyond his mediocre skills. He wept about the grueling labor and the sleepless, agonizing nights. The burden of the soup was a weight he couldn't carry. Even for a supernatural chef, the daily grind was a living hell. Yet his mother had carried that mountain of labor alone, every day. She did it all for the son who eventually abandoned her. He felt the weight of ruining his mother's legacy, yet his heart harbored a deep, unspoken pain. Growing up, he watched his mother prioritize customers over him, never sparing a single moment for her son. His resentment for that soup overflowed as tears. Even as a ghost, Mrs. O never realized his suffering. Kang Jin didn't hide his intentions, admitting he opened the tavern just to break their stubborn pride. Regardless of taste, the son believed his legendary recipe could never be defeated by a mere newcomer. He remembered his mother's final wish before passing, urging him to protect the family tavern at all costs. Awakened by her memory, he downed a drink and flashed a confident smile that radiated pure determination. He declared that Kang Jin could never match the secret soup his mother personally taught him to master. Kang Jin urged Mrs. O to return to her son, but requested a final farewell before her departure. Though confused about her destination, Kang Jin's encouraging gaze allowed her to leave with a warm smile. A successful shop brings a mountain of chores. Kang Jin felt like a new bride buried in dishes. The sheer volume of plates was overwhelming. He felt as if he might actually be buried alive today. Suddenly, he recalled the legendary warrior's promise. "Call his name 3 times, and he shall appear instantly." Gathering his inner strength, Kang Jin roared the warrior's name 3 times across the quiet Netherworld tavern. A surge of dark aura manifested as the legendary Goldhead stepped out from the very air itself. Dropping his cool act, the warrior complained that Kang Jin's loud shouting nearly shattered his ghostly eardrums. It turns out Goldhead was busy watching over the son's family alongside the satisfied ghost of Mrs. O. With her business settled, Kang Jin wanted to help the warrior ascend to the heavens like a legend. But first, the tavern boss had a more pressing mission: making the warrior wash that mountain of dishes. Despite the chores, helping the warrior resolve his lingering regrets was Kang Jin's true hidden objective all along. Returning from the market, Goldhead admired his blade, but Kang Jin heartlessly dismissed him after the work. Left alone, our boss began a cooking frenzy, preparing dish after dish until the table was completely overflowing. He summoned 𝐃𝐄𝐀𝐃 with everything from shouts to whispers, yet not a single ghost appeared initially. Just as hope faded, a terrifying surge of blood-red aura flooded the room, signaling a powerful presence's arrival. A familiar girl in a traditional hanbok appeared, radiating a chill that nearly made Kang Jin's heart stop. Our brave boss fell to the floor in pure terror, losing all his dignity in a single moment. But honestly, who wouldn't be terrified if a blood-stained phantom suddenly manifested right behind their back like that? She was annoyed, finding it insulting to be summoned across the netherworld just for some ordinary human food. However, the moment he tried to take it away, she quickly changed her tune and began to feast. As Kang Jin prepared to serve her, she abruptly stood up, claiming customers only visit during official hours. She vanished instantly, leaving a promise to return at 11 o'clock that night to finish her meal. Right on time, 𝐃𝐄𝐀𝐃 returned. She tasted the modern alcohol mix and found it surprisingly quite pleasant. As a former noble lady, she had tasted the finest delicacies, making Kang Jin curious about her past. While moving, Kang Jin stumbled, accidentally dropping a carefully wrapped gift he had prepared for her arrival. He presented a small box, an apology for his past rudeness, containing a fine dagger and a noragay. For the first time in 400 years, someone had treated her with such genuine, heartfelt human kindness. Since her death, priests only offered her strange things, hoping to exploit her terrifyingly immense ghostly powers instead. True communication with a living soul was a feeling she hadn't experienced in over 4 long centuries now. Despite her power rivaling a war god, she was a lonely soul wandering with 4 centuries of resentment. So Hai quickly finished the massive feast and prepared to leave before her aura scared other ghosts away. Her presence was so overwhelming that no other spirits dared to set foot inside the Netherworld Tavern. With a rare, genuine smile, she accepted Kang Jin's invitation to return, showing her cold heart was melting. Soon, the 3 wicked lady ghosts arrived for a lively drinking session when a new guest suddenly entered. Before a greeting could be made, the man tripped over a chair and pathetically fell flat on his face. He pathetically fell over his own feet, blaming the chair for the embarrassing accident he just caused himself. This fool spots the beauties and thinks he is still a hotshot, approaching them with a sleazy grin. He targets Blue Hair, oblivious that he is picking a fight with the legendary 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's lethal crew. He is a total disaster, a fresh ghost still reeking of alcohol, causing chaos before even sobering up. They barely reach the tavern to rest when a sudden blur flashes by. The confrontation had already begun. Blue Hair snaps, smashing a beer bottle over his head, leaving the drunkard dazed and utterly humiliated. Enraged, the drunkard clenches his fists to strike, too wasted to notice the predator's gaze locked onto him. Does he think she's afraid? Kang Jin rushes in to stop the brawl, but 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 steps forward instead. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 halts Blue Hair, knowing they shouldn't wreck the tavern. This place belongs to a professional, after all. Kang Jin's weak grip fails, and the fool breaks free, but 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's massive frame stands in his path. With just one hand, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 silences him. The drunkard is pinned down, forced to sit like a disciplined child. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 checks the ledger. Hearing he is a VIP at JS Bank, the man puts on a smug face. He acts entitled because of his wealth, but 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's expression turns cold as he delivers the real news. A debt of -14,075 billion. The group stands frozen, stunned by such a devastating deficit. Blue Hair laughs hysterically at his misfortune, shoving the ledger forward for the debtor to sign his life. Now a slave to JS Bank, the arrogant man scoffs, scattering the papers like he's still a king. Even as 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 orders him to clean it up, the fool continues his pathetic, high and mighty rant without stopping. He only shuts his mouth when he sees 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's face. The atmosphere turns heavy with an overwhelming, murderous aura. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's eyes are terrifying, enough to kill on sight. Even this tyrant cowers and begins picking up the papers. This is the first time Kang Jin has seen 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's monstrous side, a gaze that commands absolute submission. Those documents are vital, and this trash deserved 1,000 slaps for his repulsive and defiant attitude. Suddenly, he is informed of his death. To make it worse, he is charged with a fatal DUI crime. The fool claims he can't remember, so 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 provides a brutal reminder of the tragedy he caused while drunk. He was driving recklessly, crossed the line, and smashed into an oncoming car, killing both himself and another. He still refuses to take responsibility for the victim's life. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 decides to show him the ultimate truth. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 pours water into a glass, representing a human life, then drops in a stack of spirit papers. These papers represent the victim's remaining time on Earth, but they dissolve instantly into the clear water. This man stole a life that should have lasted decades. Now, there is no trace left of that person's future. He must pay his debt in the Underworld, where every sin will be weighed and subtracted from his soul. Terror finally sinks in. The man's legs give out as he tries to deny the accident he caused. Netherworld law is absolute and fair. There is no room for excuses or claims of being unaware of his sins. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 hands him the debt contract one last time. A simple fingerprint will begin his eternal journey of atonement. After 3 days of mourning, he will be processed by JS and sent directly to the Underworld's depths. He collapses in sheer horror, desperate to know what agonizing fate awaits him for his earthly crimes. The tears of his victims will choke him, and their sorrow will become a cage he can never escape. Those he oppressed for his blood money will tear his limbs apart, piece by piece, for all eternity. Paralyzed by fear, he realizes he has already pressed his thumb onto the contract. His fate is sealed. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 has seen many such villains crumble before, their arrogance turning into pathetic, soul-crushing despair and ruin. With a cold, satisfied expression, 𝐃𝐄𝐃 prepares to drag the sinner to witness his very own funeral. After a grueling night, 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 finally closes the tavern. He finds Goldhead and Madame O waiting. Madame O looks proud of her son's recent efforts. The transformation of her boy brings her immense joy. Goldhead is still skeptical, wondering if the man has truly changed after only a few short days. But 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 sees the truth in the man's eyes. He is someone who truly regrets his past mistakes. He yearns for a second chance, craving guidance to rebuild his life from the ashes of his failures. The next day, they visit the son's restaurant and find customers praising the food with genuine smiles. People are whispering that the new owner has finally found his spirit, restoring the restaurant's legendary glory. Redemption at the tavern. This time, the owner himself sees the guests out. They came for soup, but left completely wasted. The two old-timers staggered out, blinded by the morning sun, praising the legendary meal. Their joy was truly palpable. The owner finally understood his legacy. Protecting these ancient flavors became his ultimate mission, his devotion to the craft deepening. Watching nearby, Lady O's spirit stirred with memories. She recalled her young son, who never grew tired of her recipe. Even as a child, he'd devour it with pure delight. Now, she witnessed that same cherished smile once more. Hearing him praise his mother's cooking as the world's best was her final wish. Suddenly, 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 appeared. Seeing the young master, the owner roared. He rushed inside to prepare a steaming bowl, extra blood sausage included. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 stepped toward the warmth, but a flicker caught his eye. Lady O was beginning to fade into light. Tears streamed down her face, not of sorrow, but of absolute fulfillment. Her final whispers were of profound gratitude. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 bowed deeply, a silent promise in his heart. He would guide her son now, letting her soul depart. His vow reached her spirit, washing away her lingering regrets. With a serene smile, she finally closed her eyes. Suddenly, a spectral check for 10 million won from JS Finance drifted from the sky. Another soul successfully guided. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃's reputation in the underworld was skyrocketing. Every peaceful ascension solidified his hidden status as a rising boss. Back at the office, 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 was a mess. Sweating bullets, his eyes darted around while his manager kept droning. He claimed everything was fine, but his mind was racing. Why was everyone in the office suddenly training like athletes? The paper-pushing office had transformed into a high-intensity gym. Seeing his colleagues push their limits was more terrifying than ghosts. The atmosphere was bizarre. Then, he bumped into the manager, a tavern regular who immediately tried to book a private table. But since the mission was complete, the special soup was gone. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃's refusal left the manager visibly devastated. The awkwardness peaked as the manager, decked out in neon sportswear, started doing high knees right in front of him. Just as 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 questioned reality, a colleague whispered the truth. The company's internal sports festival was commencing tomorrow, a 2-day, 1-night grueling athletic event. To an ordinary employee, it was a nightmare. To 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃, a catastrophe. The hardworking clerk's world crumbled. His face turned ashen, looking as if the heavens had decided to drop a mountain. Trapped in a spiral of despair, his coworkers watched with confusion. Finally, he reached out to the lawyer for help. Closing the tavern for 2 days was risky, but the lawyer agreed. A substitute would arrive this Friday. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 worried about a normal person seeing ghosts, but the lawyer laughed. It was his own sibling taking shift. Looking at the photo, the mysterious replacement appeared to be a young woman. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 sighed with relief, ending call. Still holding his respectful posture, he bowed deeply to his phone, a sight that didn't go unnoticed by his coworkers. They were used to his eccentricities, assuming he was just another soul crushed under the heavy weight of capitalism. He saw a petite female staffer struggling with 2 massive crates and immediately moved to show his tavern-honed strength. But even she refused help. The obsession with the upcoming sports trials had gripped every single soul in the building. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 didn't care until he heard the shocking news. This festival was the final test for permanent positions. The interns were in a frenzy, but 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 remained indifferent. He had no desire for a corporate promotion. He planned to stay on the sidelines, letting others fight for scraps. That's when he spotted Dong, he approaching. Dong, he was laughing with friends, but his face soured the moment he locked eyes with our protagonist. He went out of his way to shoulder-check 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃, a petty display of ego that only made him look pathetic. 𝐾𝐀𝐍𝐃 just offered a pitying smile. Meanwhile, A call came from Mrs. Kim's fourth son regarding the tavern renovation. They discussed the interior overhaul. The legendary contractor sent over a list of upgrades to turn the shop into palace. The renovations were set to begin over the weekend. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 beamed with joy. Finally, his tavern would look legendary. No more insults about the shop being outdated. But his smile vanished instantly when he saw the astronomical bill. The price for perfection was staggering. Frozen in shock, he realized his underworld earnings were about to vanish. He swallowed his pride and begged for an installment plan. Even a hidden boss of the netherworld must budget. Despite the stress, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 worked tirelessly. However, the office vultures couldn't stop whispering about his dual life. They mocked the intern running a restaurant, convinced he'd burn out. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Exhausted, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 headed home. The constant mockery stung, but he endured it with the patience of a master. He couldn't blame them for their ignorance. Their small minds couldn't comprehend the divine destiny he was currently fulfilling. Trapped in a fog of doubt, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 couldn't fathom why he was still standing there. Was it loyalty to the professor's recommendation or simply a primal fear of losing this chance? Regardless, looking at the hard-working staff, he only felt a crushing weight of guilt. The company sports day finally arrived. The air exploded with cheers, as everyone shouted with their souls. But 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 saw more than just employees. His eyes pierced through the veil to another world. Spectral figures of students loomed over the field. Unable to ignore them, his curiosity began to burn. He questioned his assistant about the stadium's past, searching for any dark secrets hidden in the soil. A tragedy struck 6 years ago. A horrific car crash in the parking lot claimed innocent young lives. Children were mangled or killed instantly. Yet, the scales of justice tipped. The driver was declared innocent. Dashcams proved the brakes were hit, but the mechanical response was far too slow to save them. Crimson blood painted the asphalt as 3 students perished. The footage ignited a firestorm of public fury. The internet demanded blood, yet the court stood firm. The driver walked free, untouched by human law. But legal freedom brought no peace. The man was their own teacher, the one meant to protect them. Consumed by the ghosts of his actions, he spent his remaining days spiraling into absolute madness. Near the vibrant food stalls, 2 tiny spirits watched with longing eyes at the steaming, delicious treats. They pressed against the glass, though one boy remained cold, knowing they could never truly taste anything. Suddenly, 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 approached, arms overflowing with food. To the living, he looked like a lonely outcast. Whispers spread that he was being bullied by colleagues, forced to eat in isolation like a loser. When he offered the feast to the empty air, the spirits froze in total, utter disbelief. They wondered if this strange man had lost his mind, talking to shadows that no one else saw. The moment they realized he could see them, their expressions turned into masks of pure shock. He urged them to eat. Hesitantly, they reached out, their ghostly essence trembling as they touched the chopsticks. The food transformed into flickering spirit fire, devoid of flavor, leaving their spectral hunger entirely unsatisfied. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 remembered a grim truth. Ghosts can only taste flavor within the walls of his mystical tavern. He asked if they knew of his shop, wondering if word of his sanctuary had reached them. It wasn't that they hadn't heard, it was that they were completely alone in this desolate place. A chilling realization struck him: these children were shackled here, unable to cross over or even leave. Desperate for answers, they asked how a living man could possibly peer into their world of shadows. When he claimed to feed the wandering dead, they scoffed, unable to believe such a legendary savior existed. One boy begged 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 to contact their families, to tell them they were still healthy and well. But 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃 hesitated. Such news would be a jagged blade, reopening wounds that had barely begun healing. A young girl's scream suddenly tore through the air. The weight of 6 years of invisibility finally broke her. Trapped and ignored for thousands of days, her tiny soul began to crumble under the crushing loneliness. She collapsed, sobbing on the floor. 𝐃𝐀𝐍𝐃's heart wrenched, caught between his duty and his pity. These weren't ordinary spirits. They were unstable and fading. He had to find a way to anchor them. He recalled how his tavern's food stabilized wandering souls. Could his cooking work its magic out here? Though it was a gamble, he resolved to push his culinary powers to their absolute, divine limit. Learning they could move within a small radius, he planned a secret midnight banquet just for them. At the stroke of 12 midnight, the ordinary stadium was transformed into a spectral dining hall of wonders. For the first time in years, the children feasted. Their joy was palpable as they tasted true nourishment. Under the moonlight, the barrier thinned. The food became real to them, filling their hollow hearts at last. But their next question froze the blood in his veins. Can you help us leave this place forever? 𝐃𝐿𝐃 stood silent. He was just a cook following ancient recipes, not a master of soul-binding. If they couldn't speak to their parents, their only wish was to escape this eternal, invisible prison. Looking at their hopeful faces, he vowed to break their chains. Being bound forever was no way to live. Realizing his own incompetence, 𝐃𝐿𝐃 dismissed those two useless fools. A single name offered hope, sending the restless spirits into chaos. He introduced a legendary senior with centuries of underworld mastery. The children were warned to be respectful before this terrifying powerhouse. He chanted 𝐃𝐿𝐃's name thrice, initiating the sacred ritual. A soul-crushing chill erupted, making even the bravest children tremble. The immense pressure was suffocating, causing the spirits to feel nauseous. 𝐿𝐃 emerged, her tattered hanbok radiating a devastating ancient aura. Her overwhelming presence forced every spirit to bow in absolute fear. She flashed a merciful smile, promising not to devour their souls. 𝐃𝐿𝐃 cut to the chase. A goblin's curse bound them. He pleaded with 𝐿𝐃 the name that makes all demons tremble. Seeing their desperation, she scolded 𝐾𝐿𝐃 for his reckless meddling. He knew his limits, but couldn't abandon these innocent, trapped souls. If left here, they would be denied reincarnation for all eternity. He begged for her help, despite her visible annoyance at him. She grumbled about his charity work, but reluctantly accepted the mission. As they moved, she nagged him like a grumpy underworld mother. Yet 𝐾𝐿𝐃's resolve to save every spirit remained completely unshakable. His stubbornness silenced her, but she gave one final, grim warning. Only those who reject their deaths become these twisted, monstrous goblins. Forcibly severing the bond risked their memories and their final ascension. Despite the danger, the boy was desperate to escape this purgatory. The girl volunteered first, but one boy hesitated in the shadows. 𝐾𝐿𝐃 sensed his hidden attachment and pulled him aside. The boy turned scarlet, exposed by the tavern owner's sharp eyes. They were childhood friends who had shared every moment since birth. In middle school, he realized his heart belonged to the girl. When tragedy struck, he sacrificed his life to push her away. He died instantly, but fate was cruel. The car took her too. He yearned to confess, but feared leaving his friends behind alone. Guilt consumed him. He wished he was the only one lost. His heart was too heavy to express his love so freely. Fed up with the drama, 𝐿𝐃 rushed them along quickly. She warned that cutting the bond feels like vanishing into smoke. They had to stay conscious to return to their rightful place. It was a dangerous gamble with absolutely no room for error. When asked for a backup plan, 𝐿𝐃 simply gave them a shrug. How should I know? Her cold answer filled them with dread. They vowed to meet at the park at 6 o'clock sharp. The ritual ignited as 𝐿𝐃 carved a glowing, mystical seal. Her eyes flashed as she plunged her blade into the earth. Ethereal flames erupted, revealing the cursed chains binding the children's legs. With a glowing strike, she severed the shackles with absolute precision. Their feet left the ground as she yelled to stay focused. Just as her glasses slipped, the boy lunged forward, pouring every ounce of his soul into one final, desperate grasp. But fate was cruel. Their fingers drifted apart, and she was swept upward into the cold, empty sky, beyond reach. His agonizing screams tore through the air, yet he couldn't touch her hand again, no matter how hard he lunged. 𝐾𝐿𝐃 roared her name 3 times until his throat felt like shredded glass, but only a haunting silence remained. 𝐿𝐃 spoke coldly. She is still in this land. No spirit can escape the underworld's grasp so easily. Though tears threatened to spill, the boy fought for composure, whispering to himself that everything would be all right. Her task for 𝐾𝐿𝐃 was complete. She stepped through the door, her form dissolving into flickering blue flames. A new intern arrived for the season, a mere background character with a face too blurry to even remember. 𝐾𝐿𝐃 didn't spare them a glance. His mind was a chaotic storm, haunted by the fate of the children. The guilt of the girl's disappearance crushed him. He shouldered the entire burden, sinking into a dark pit of despair. Manager Bong tried to offer words of courage, but 𝐾𝐿𝐃's pained groans only made the situation more awkward. The manager panicked, mistakenly thinking the boy was devastated over not being chosen for a promotion. 𝐾𝐿𝐃 remained frustrated. He called her name thrice, yet the summoning failed. He realized his knowledge was severely lacking. In the realm of the dead, living logic is useless. A soul cannot simply survive without a guide. New ghosts are like drifting petals, They need a mentor to show them the path to his spectral tavern. Perhaps this separation was a trial. Isolated from the others, the girl might finally learn to navigate this cruel world. She is still within the borders of this nation. Fate will eventually draw their paths together once more. The blonde's silver-tongued persuasion worked. Slowly, the heavy clouds of worry began to lift from 𝐃𝐿𝐿 heart. Suddenly, he cried out in pain. The legendary doctor was driving countless spirit needles into his weary body. This agony was the price of the sports festival. The gray-haired ghost mocked him for not seeking help sooner. 𝐃𝐿𝐿 was stunned. He hadn't realized this man knew the forbidden art of spirit possession so well. The great physician had refused him before, claiming the ritual was a perilous dance with death for any mortal. But the doctor simply wasn't used to it. Channeling a ghost shatters the delicate balance of a human vessel. With a few swift, expert movements, the doctor restored the life force to 𝐃𝐿𝐿's numb and heavy arms. To repay the brilliant healer, 𝐃𝐿𝐿 prepared 2 golden plates of his special Underworld fried chicken. Possession requires a perfect harmony of yin and yang. A heavy ghostly aura can easily ravage a living soul. This tavern was the only exception, a neutral zone where the living and the dead shared the same air. Suddenly, Blondie demanded 𝐃𝐿𝐿 clear his Saturday schedule for a secret outing to Unamdong. It wasn't a casual trip. He had noticed his master's declining health and felt a dire need to visit. 𝐃𝐿𝐿 was confused about his role until the truth emerged. The doctor would borrow his body to heal. As they ate, a sudden, bone-chilling frost filled the room. The temperature plummeted, sending shivers down their spines. The customers scrambled, fleeing in a panicked frenzy as if a calamity was approaching the tavern doors. 𝐃𝐿𝐿 stood frozen until he remembered today was the day so Hai promised to pay a visit. The blond man broke into a cold sweat, cursing 𝐃𝐿𝐿 for not giving him a warning sooner. Even as he bolted for the exit, he reminded 𝐃𝐿𝐿 not to dare miss their Saturday appointment. No matter how many times he witnessed this cowardice, 𝐃𝐿𝐿 could never get used to their pathetic behavior. As he turned back inside, So Hai appeared at the entrance, her presence radiating an icy, majestic authority. She claimed she was only there for Grandma Kim's famous spicy chicken feet, but her eyes suggested otherwise. She was worried. Seeing 𝐃𝐿𝐿 alive and well brought a hidden sense of relief to her cold heart. When the dish arrived, 𝐃𝐿𝐿 boasted about his flame-seared technique, claiming it added a unique smoky depth. In reality, the idiot had simply lost control of the heat, leaving the meat charred and smelling of smoke. The atmosphere shifted instantly when she mentioned the children from the arena, reigniting the fire in his eyes. The tray hit the table. 𝐃𝐿𝐿 boasted about his flame-searing technique, claiming the charred scent was a gourmet innovation. But his nervous eyes told another story. He had clearly overcooked the dish, turning a simple meal into a burnt disaster. His culinary lies were cut short when she mentioned the children at the arena. Suddenly, the tavern's atmosphere turned icy cold. Pushing past his hesitation, So Hai uses a legendary technique, pouring wine to open his heart. After a single glass, 𝐃𝐿𝐿 admits his lingering worry for the wandering souls. She pours another. Though his body serves the living, his mind is tethered to the realm of the dead. That ghost world isn't his home. She reminds him of the paralyzing fear he once felt. He used to dread spirits, but now, he only sees the human hearts within them. This misplaced sympathy infuriates So Hai. Compassion is blinding his judgment and his supernatural vision. She points a finger at his pale face. Balance your emotions or lose your way. Boundaries are absolute. Later, at the legendary Unamdong, 𝐃𝐿𝐿 sits in nervous silence. He'd shouted for the head chef in a panic, feeling like a total country bumpkin. The staff's secret stares are stinging. 𝐃𝐿𝐿 knows they see him as a complete outsider. Meanwhile, Blondie's ghost won't stop bragging about his former status and the VIP treatment. 𝐃𝐿𝐿's dark, exhausted expression finally shuts him up. He's drowning in his own social awkwardness. He came to meet a master, but arrived empty-handed. He feels utterly disrespectful and small. He sits there hunched over until a heavy presence approaches. Both of them turn instantly. Blondie's face lights up with joy. Before them stands a mountain of a man, a titan. Meet Kim Bong-nam, the world-class chef. He greets 𝐃𝐿𝐿 as Blondie's old friend. 𝐃𝐿𝐿 tries to stay professional, but Blondie is literally hanging off the man's shoulders. The ghost pokes his master incessantly, admiring the old man's powerful and healthy physique. The chef speaks with deep affection, admitting he always viewed Blondie as his own son. Tears well up in the spirit's eyes. The emotional weight of those words is overwhelming. They talk shop. Kang Jin mentions his tavern in Nanhyun, a cutthroat culinary battlefield. The chef recognizes the grit needed to survive there. He senses Kang Jin's hidden potential. Kang Jin remains humble, giving all the credit to Blondie's guidance and spirit. Blondie flushes with pride. Nothing beats the approval of a legendary mentor like this. His grin stretches ear to ear. But Kang Jin didn't come just for small talk. He cuts to the chase. He turns his gaze toward the unseen ghost physician nearby. A diagnosis requires a pulse. He must touch the legendary chef's hand to see the truth. Blondie begs him to do it, making a simple handshake feel like a monumental task. The ghost offers his own hand in vain, a tragic reminder that spirits cannot touch the living. With puppy dog eyes, the spirit pleads, "Break the ice, Kang Jin. Just this once." Kang Jin asks for the chef's hand, spinning a lie about a dream from Blondie. He claims the spirit wished for this connection. The chef, though puzzled, reaches out. As Kang Jin grips the hand, a chill runs through him. The chef's blood is stagnant. A blue aura flickers a vision only Kang Jin can see. The truth is devastatingly dire. Both Kang Jin and Blondie realize it. The chef's liver and kidneys are failing fast. "When was your last checkup, chef?" Kang Jin's voice is sharp with hidden concern. It had been years. Without anyone to care for him, the master neglected himself. The diagnosis leaves the chef stunned. How could this young man know his inner secrets? Kang Jin uses every ounce of persuasion. He won't let this culinary legend fade away. He sees Blondie's ghost frantically pleading. He can't ignore the desperate spirit's cries anymore. He uses the dream again. "He wanted to touch you, but he couldn't reach you." Kang Jin feels the heavy weight of the boundary. He is the bridge between worlds. So Hai's warning echoes. Finally, the chef relents and agrees to the medical exam. They rejoice in victory, but the chef's expression shifts. A massive BUT hangs there. The legendary chef smiles deviously. He has a condition that Kang Jin never expected. He had already agreed, damn it. This favor was definitely a trap. That is all for today. Please support us with a like, share, and to help us create more epic Underworld content.